Doctors barely glanced up when Emily Carter walked through the emergency department doors carrying a small duffel bag and a folder marked temporary nurse assignment. Fresh faces arrived every month, and most disappeared just as quickly. The senior staff assumed she would last a week before transferring somewhere easier. Whispers followed her as she checked in. She looked too young, too calm, too ordinary to survive the chaos of the city's busiest military hospital. Another rookie, one surgeon muttered while reviewing charts. Try not to faint when the helicopters start landing. Emily simply smiled. I'll do my best, doctor. The charge nurse handed her routine paperwork without hiding her disappointment. You'll stay in observation. Leave trauma cases to experienced people. Emily nodded politely, saying nothing about the years she had spent treating wounded soldiers in places most people only saw on the news. She had promised herself never to mention her past unless lives depended on it. The peaceful morning shattered as alarms screamed across the hospital. A military convoy had been attacked during a classified training mission. Multiple casualties were arriving within minutes. Doctors sprinted toward the trauma bay while nurses rushed to prepare blood, ventilators, and surgical equipment. A helicopter thundered onto the landing pad. Stretchers rolled inside carrying wounded service members covered in dust and blood. Families waiting nearby burst into tears as medics shouted vital signs over the deafening noise. Emily instinctively stepped forward, but another nurse blocked her path. Observation only, she snapped. Stay out of the way. Emily clenched her fists and obeyed even as every instinct begged her to help. Then something completely unexpected happened. A powerful black German shepherd burst through the emergency entrance wearing a tactical harness. Military police chased behind him, unable to catch him. The dog ignored everyone, weaving through stretchers with astonishing precision before stopping directly in front of Emily. The entire room fell silent. The shepherd stared into her eyes, then gently placed something at her feet. It was a worn Navy SEAL commander armband stained with dried blood. Emily's face turned pale. She recognized it instantly. The room erupted with confused voices. Where did the dog get that? Whose armband is it? Before anyone could react, the loyal canine barked once, turned toward the trauma corridor, and waited as though he expected only one person to follow him. The military police officer finally caught up, breathing hard as he grabbed for the German shepherd's harness. The dog refused to move. His eyes locked on Emily with unwavering determination. Every attempt to pull him away ended with another sharp bark that echoed through the emergency department. What is wrong with this dog? One resident asked nervously. Emily picked up the weathered armband with trembling hands. Sewn inside the faded fabric was a call sign only a handful of people would recognize. Ghost 7, she whispered. The words froze her in place. Years earlier, she had served beside the man who wore that armband during a classified rescue mission overseas. Officially, she had been listed as a combat medic attached to special operations. Unofficially, she had become the only medic trusted by a Navy SEAL commander whose team never left anyone behind. The charge nurse frowned. You know whose this is? Emily hesitated for only a second. Yes. Before anyone could question her further, the K-9 sprinted down a side corridor leading toward an isolated trauma room. Emily followed without waiting for permission. Several doctors shouted after her, but curiosity drove them to follow as well. Inside the room lay an unconscious patient surrounded by specialists. His face was bruised beyond recognition, his breathing unstable despite every intervention. The heart monitor showed dangerous fluctuations, and surgeons argued over whether to rush him into another operation. We're losing him, one physician warned. Emily stepped closer, studying the man's scars instead of his swollen face. It's Commander Ryan Hayes, she said quietly. The room fell silent. Impossible, another doctor replied. His identification tags were missing. Emily gently touched the patient's wrist. Ryan always fractured this bone during training. It healed crooked. That's him. The K-9 rested his head beside the bed and let out a soft whine. His name is Valor, Emily said. He only behaves like this when Ryan is still fighting. The lead surgeon folded his arms. Even if you're right, this is my operating room. Emily met his eyes without fear, then stopped treating the monitor and started treating the patient. She pointed to a nearly invisible puncture wound hidden beneath Ryan's shoulder blade. That's the real injury. The surgeon frowned before ordering an immediate scan. Seconds later, the imaging revealed a deep internal bleed no one had noticed. Gasps filled the room as every eye turned toward Emily. The doctors realized the nurse they had dismissed that morning had just found the injury that was silently stealing the commander's life. The operating room exploded into motion. Blood products arrived, surgical lights blazed overhead, and every specialist focused on the hidden injury Emily had uncovered. The lead surgeon looked at her with new respect. You scrub in, he ordered. You saw what the rest of us missed. Emily slipped on sterile gloves without hesitation. Valor remained outside the operating room doors, lying perfectly still, as if he understood that the next few hours would decide everything. The surgery was brutal. A fragment of twisted metal had torn a major vessel before lodging deep beneath muscle. Removing it too quickly would cause catastrophic bleeding. Leaving it in place guaranteed Ryan would never wake again. Emily watched every heartbeat on the monitor while anticipating each movement before the surgeon requested an instrument. Suction. Already in his hand. Clamp. Awaiting beside the incision. The surgeon glanced at her. "You've done this before." She answered quietly, "More times than I ever wanted." After endless minutes, the damaged vessel was repaired. The bleeding stopped. Ryan's pulse strengthened, first slowly, then steadily. The flat expressions around the room softened into relieved smiles. Outside, Valor suddenly lifted his head before anyone spoke. His tail thumped once against the floor. Somehow he knew. Hours later, Ryan opened his eyes in intensive care. His first words were barely a whisper. "Emily, you kept your promise." Several younger doctors exchanged confused looks. Ryan smiled weakly. "She saved my team overseas. I told every commander that if I was ever dying again, find Emily Carter." The room became silent. The charge nurse stepped forward, ashamed. "We judged you before we knew who you were." Emily shook her head gently. "Rank, medals, and experience mean nothing if we forget compassion. Every patient deserves our best before they earn our respect." The lead surgeon removed his surgical cap and extended his hand. "Welcome to this hospital. We should have welcomed you from the beginning." As the sun rose beyond the hospital windows, Valor rested beside Ryan's bed while Emily quietly prepared for another shift, asking for no recognition. Sometimes the greatest heroes never announce themselves. They simply answer the call when everyone else hesitates. If this story reminded you that courage, loyalty, and kindness can change lives forever, subscribe for more unforgettable stories that prove true heroes are often the ones nobody expects.